What is the creepiest / most disturbing internet rabbit hole you've gone down? And why? Blogs by people who are obsessed with losing limbs and / or having them replaced with hooks, etc. Some went through with accidents where they mashed their hands beyond repair in order to achieve their goal. Reminds of that guy from South Africa who had a blog I came across a few years ago. His thing was amputations. And he badly wanted to get his perfectly healthy foot amputated for whatever reason. He felt like it didn't belong to his own body. He would inflict injuries to his foot, cut it with a knife and put it in a bucket full of his own poop to cause infection. It was all documented, with daily pictures. You could literally see the daily progression of his foot rotting and becoming black, until he stopped posting. He came back a few weeks later and wrote he almost died. He had passed out because of a bad case of sepsis blood infection and his landlord found him in the bathroom. Crazy stuff. And yes, he came back from hospital with his foot amputated. Success. The emotional whiplash made me laugh way harder at this than I should have. Deaths on Mt. Everest and how a lot of the bodies are still up there. This was a wiki rabbit hole I fell into after listening to the Case File episode on David Sharp. Read not only about him but also Green Boots, this couple that got separated, etc. Due to the extremely cold temperatures. The bodies aren't that decomposed, so they still look recent even though it's been years or decades. It's creepy and sad. Some bodies have been there so long they are used as markers for climbers. What is also sad is that there have been efforts to remove them. But doing so is extremely dangerous because of the altitude, temperatures, and uneven ground. People have died attempting it in the past. Not sure if they've managed to succeed since I last read about it in 2018. Undefined. It's absolutely fascinating and disturbing to read as a mountaineer. In 2010, I was just above Camp 3 on Aconcagua, tallest mountain in the Americas, when I got lost in a blizzard. I had altitude sickness. I was so weak, exhausted and now lost, that I got stuck in a big snowdrift and just sat down. I closed my eyes and one of my last thoughts was how peaceful everything was. It's scary how close I came to being a frozen corpse on a big mountain. I'm so lucky that the guide I was with managed to find my tracks before they got filled in. Made it down alive. Cave diving accidents. They're always tragic and sad and insanely common in the community due to the dangers of cave diving. But they have been to some of the most untouched areas of Earth, and I kind of get the need to keep exploring even if it's dangerous. I read about a pair of blokes who realized their line had snapped and they were trapped in an air pocket with only enough oxygen for one of them to try and escape for help. Dude had to wait in the pitch black for hours not knowing if his friend had reached help or died along the way. Scares the crap out of me. I can barely bring myself to swim under small stuff in safe swimming pools. I've never tried diving and I really don't think I could conquer that fear. What was the result? I can't go without answers. They both survived. The friend made it out and a search crew went in for the second. Looking up pictures of people who hit the ground after falling from great heights. I looked it up mostly out of morbid curiosity. Definitely would not recommend for anyone with a weak stomach. One of the worst things I've seen is a video of a guy trying to commit suicide by jumping off a building, but he lands on one of those big concrete bollards and it literally goes inside him. There was even a close-up in the video of him still alive with this huge lump in his shoulder from the top of the bollard. Oh Speep, I remember that one. It went through his entire body and it shook me when he remained alive. Those couple of minutes must have been horrific. I have fallen down too. Both lasted about a week. First was John/Jane Does, who have never been claimed or identified. Second was people who have disappeared without a trace. I feel this one tugged more on my emotional strings. Especially stories involving kids. One that has stuck with me is a little boy who disappeared on a scout hike. Jared Negreed. That is one of my greatest fears when I take kids hiking. It was that kid's first time sleeping away like that. Heartbreaking. Unit 731. What they did is really beeped up. In other tests, subjects were deprived of food and water to determine the length of time until death. Placed into low-pressure chambers until their eyes popped from the sockets. Experimented upon to determine the relationship between temperature, burns, and human survival. Electrocuted. Placed into centrifuges and spun until death. Injected with animal blood. Exposed to lethal doses of X-rays. Subjected to various chemical weapons inside gas chambers. Injected with seawater. And burned or buried alive. Getting placed into a centrifuge and spun until death sounds horrendous. That story and the story of the dude who ultimately died when he ended up stuck with his head down in a deep awkward cave makes me feel intensely claustrophobic. I would want an instant death switch I could hit rather than suffering like that. The Nutty Putty Cave? Reading that still haunts me. Saudi Arabia's leading executioner, Muhammad Saad al-Bashi. He mostly decapitates people with a sword. I watched/read interviews with him. I wanted to know if that speep haunts him. No. It doesn't. He's already teaching his son to follow in his footsteps. Then started looking into what was considered capital offenses and other punishments used. Stoning is one. Certain crimes will get, after being beheaded, crucified. If I'm getting beheaded and crucified, that's the order I'd prefer. I'd also rather it was an experienced expert who was likely to not mess up the first attempt. A straightforward guy wrote down his experiences with heroin. Basically he wanted to try it for fun and he was sure that he had enough willpower to stop after that. Well, he was wrong. Probably someone can remember the name of the guy or the Reddit post. It's fairly well known, I believe. Same thing happened on a Norwegian forum. Some guy asked how to shoot up. And the thread turned into a years-long diary of him becoming an addict and failing to quit. Then he just stopped posting and some time later it was revealed he had died. Turned into a media case for a while. His mom was interviewed and stuff. The murder of Junko Furuta. Just read it. Those kids are literal beeping demons. Even most cartel tortures don't last that long. Poor girl. Literally suffered for absolutely nothing. And to think that the kids that did it are still out today. They're free. What the beepity beep beep. Yeah. They were all minors at the time. And thus given relatively light sentences under Japanese law. They weren't even charged with murder. Just bodily injury leading to death. They've all since been released. The ringleader Hiroshi Miyano got 20 years. Since being released, he's went back into gang activity and been arrested for fraud. But has managed to avoid any convictions. Jay Ogura got 8 years. Since being released, he's boasted about his involvement in raping and murdering Furuta. And he wound up serving another 7 years for kidnapping and torturing a guy he thought his girlfriend was cheating on him with. During that kidnapping, which lasted 4 days, he threatened to kill the guy and told him that he had gotten away with murder before. He's currently free again. Nobuharu Minato got 9 years. Since being released, he went back into gang activity and is currently on trial for attempting another murder. Yasushi Watanabe got 7 years. And is the only one to have not reoffended since his release. None of the family members who helped them house and hide Furuta were charged in any way. and several of them have actually tried to blame it all on Furuta. A sci-fi timeline PDF I found a while back. I think it was on the World Building sub. It was a timeline of humanity that started it off relatively normal, detailing human evolution as they colonized Mars and the stars beyond. It descended into body horror when they came into contact with an advanced race that for some reason I forget gene-modded the majority of humans into non-sentient species and seeded them across the galaxy. It then went into great detail with each of these species separately and their climb back to sentience. It ended with one of the new humans that evolved back to sentience standing beside an original human skull. I haven't been able to find it since, but Speep got dark. Undefined. I just spent 90 minutes reading this. I am nearly done. Wow. Just blew mind. I haven't read sci-fi since I was a kid. So this was a bit of a shock to the system. Amazing stuff. I just read the first part and came back to check if anyone had read all the way. I'm about to. This dude knows how to keep a reader's attention. Undefined.
Hey guys, if you like this video then smash that like button. Subscribe to the channel for more contents like this. And don't forget to press that bell icon to get notified for future videos. Thanks for watching. Click here to see more videos.